Welcome to our Marketing Monday sessions, where we delve into ever-evolving world of business marketing. Today, we have the privilege of hosting distinguished guest Mr. Srihari Palangala, the head of marketing for medium business in the APJ and EMEA region at Dell Technologies. Srihari brings a wealth of experience and expertise in developing as a business marketer, navigating the dynamic landscape of marketing strategies and initiatives. Hello and welcome to today's Marketing Monday session on another interesting topic, developing as a business marketer. I am Naveen Singhal, Chief Experience Officer, Tech Plus Media CXO TV, and your host for today. In this episode, we'll explore the trend and challenges that surround the development of business marketers in today's competitive landscape. As marketing landscape continues to evolve, staying ahead requires a keen understanding of necessary skills and attributes that contribute to success. Sri Hari will shed light on full business marketer and share practical insight on the skill development and growth opportunities. Please welcome Sri Hari to this fireside chat as we gain valuable perspective from him, delving into the world of developing as a business marketer and uncovering the strategies that drive professional advancement in this field. Hi Sri Hari, welcome to CXO TV for an insightful discussion. And let me tell you, you are a well-known personality. Still, we request you to introduce yourself. Then we shall take up this interesting topic.
Thank you, Naveen. Thank you very much for having me on this show here today. I'm absolutely delighted to be part of this conversation over the next few minutes on this topic around developing yourself as a business marketer. Just as a quick, introduction, since you've asked me to just go through that, let me give you a little bit of context. I see myself as a person who has an intersection between technology and business, which has been my background over the last several years. The first few years post my master's in computer science was about 5 to 6 years was all in software development as well as consulting with various firms across the United States. Post that, I went to business school, and ever since then, over the last 17 to 18 years, I've been in various roles in product as well as field marketing in large firms like Microsoft, Adobe, and Dell, as well as in a startup. So it's different firm sizes as well, which exposes you to different ways in which the function of marketing operates and contributes to the business. Just one small correction that I wanted to make that you had in the comment that you made initially. My current portfolio at Dell is to look at the marketing in the APJ region for the small and medium businesses.
Okay. So, thank you for this introduction, and it has, I'm sure, highlighted your expertise in front of our audiences, and we are sure that we will get a lot of insight towards this interesting topic. So, in today's competitive landscape, how have the roles and dimensions of a business marketer changed over the last few years, you see?
Yeah, when I look and think about it, right, as a practicing marketer and a practitioner, the first thing which is pretty clear to everybody in the field of marketing today is the plethora of data which is available. Okay? And this is not just data about the market. It's obviously data about the market, its trends which is available, but also at a fairly granular level, insights about the customer and the customer behavior, as well as internal performance data, right? So marketers today have a whole range of data which is available in front of them. I think, the ability for marketers to be able to connect the dots here is really, really important because data can be several pieces which are thrown at you, but how do you connect them and through it bring out what are short-term as well as the medium-term priorities is an important skill for every marketer today. When you connect the dots, in my mind, you as a marketer start talking about language which is beyond traditional marketing, right? All of us marketers love to talk the regular language around attendees, impressions, some digital stats, etc. But when you start connecting the dots beyond those, it starts giving you a broader picture, which enables you, or at least gets you to a position where you can drive the business engine forward. And that's what I'm alluding to as the business marketer in today's world. So therefore, when you look at it in this context, marketing is obviously an equal set of both art and science. But in my mind, it's balancing or rather tipping a little bit more towards science as it relates to the efforts of marketing and the business outcomes that we can drive, right? So if I were to sort of look at it, I'd probably say like 60-40 towards science and 40 towards the art, right? So that's sort of where marketers are going to today. Um, as an outcome from this, right, in the context of where marketers are today, there is a pressing imperative for all marketers to develop as business marketers, right? So that's why we thought that this topic was really interesting, Naveen, when you and I were talking about this, and so that's the context of some of what the initial thoughts are.
Well, that's great. And you have talked about the science and art of the marketing, though it's a little widespread. So, if I may ask some specific question, that what are the key attributes and skills that differentiate a successful business marketer from in this very field?
Yeah, and maybe it's a little bit with the way I am oriented and look at some of those things. Like I mentioned to you at the start of our conversation today, I'm sort of equal parts of technology and business, right? So fundamentally, a part of me is very comfortable with data, which is the first thing that I sort of encourage a lot of marketers who are looking to strive and become more business marketers, is you absolutely need to be comfortable with data. Okay. Now, data doesn't just mean looking at numbers in a spreadsheet or things of that nature. That's just more reporting in my mind. I think you need to go beyond it and start interpreting that data, right? What is that trying to tell you? Now, there's a lot of talk about interpreting data as well to give you insights, but then that's sort of a chasm that you have to cross between where data is and where you can start getting some meaningful insights. One of the things that I found useful when you look at this is your ability to be able to zoom in and zoom out. Okay. When you zoom into particular parts, okay, let's take an example, right? There's a marketing funnel, there's a sales funnel. You may zoom into parts of the marketing funnel, look at some parts of the data, that will give you some insight. But you may zoom out and look at it across the marketing and sales funnel, and that will give you a different picture. So as a practitioner and as a business marketer, you need to be able to zoom in and zoom out quite easily. Okay, and not just for yourself, for the team around you, right? Which is the next part of what I would like to mention within this is you're not just staring at this yourself. You need to be able to take the team along with you around what that data and what that insight is giving you. And because you're striving to be business marketers, very easily this goes into a cross-functional conversation. So between marketing, between product, between sales, finance, etc. And therefore your ability to be able to share what that data is telling you and therefore influence this, right? So therefore, in my mind, if you strive to drive some of that influence, then marketing becomes a key partner for a successful business.
I'm sure, yes. And you have talked about, zooming in and zooming out of the data, and it requires a lot of skills. Right. So, in terms of skill development, what are some practical steps and resources one can utilize to enhance their marketing capabilities and stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah. So, I'd probably mention one area which is more technical of sorts, and a couple of areas which are more personality driven. Okay. Because I think that's very important for marketers too today. Okay. Because you are engaging with different functions. On the technical side, I'd certainly call out analytical skills is very, very important. Okay. Analytical skills to be able to look at trends, to be able to decipher those trends, to be able to correlate the data, to be able to have that level of caution between correlation and causation and knowing which is triggering what is important. So that's sort of a little bit more on the technical side. But I do think when you start getting plenty of this data, there are two other aspects from a soft skill or a personality side which are very, very important. One is your ability to influence, okay? Because it's no fun if you've got all of this data, you've got all of these insights, and you're sort of pedaling away by yourself in a corner, and you don't have the ability to take the team along with you. So therefore, influencing capabilities is very important. And what does influencing capabilities mean? It's your ability to be able to bring that data to a conversation, set the context, talk about the past and the present and where the future is headed, and take the broader team and multiple functions along with you, right? It could be product, pricing, sales activities, etc. The other thing in my mind is communication, okay? Because when you have to influence well, you have to be able to communicate really well, right? I've seen plenty of examples where people can zero down into one corner of a presentation and back all into a conversation, which has no bearing on the broader picture of what you're trying to address and solve. Okay, so communication is important. Influencing is very important. These are skills from a software aspect, from a data and analytics perspective, obviously to be able to work through it, and somewhere from it derive the inference of what's important for the short term, what's important for the medium term.
And my next question is from our audiences, the young marketers, that aspiring business marketers often face challenges along with their professional journey. So, what are some common obstacles and or roadblocks they are likely to encounter, and how can they navigate through them effectively?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Naveen, because you know the sense of getting overwhelmed, right, in today's world is not new to any one individual or one scenario or one organization, etc. Right? We live in a day and age where, whether we like it or not, we're 24/7 connected, both with our friends as well as sort of other spheres and other areas. One aspect for sure is as a marketer and in the profession of marketing, right? You're definitely bound to have a data overload, right? There'll be plenty of data which is available, right? In fact, any sphere, any aspect you'll have plenty of it available. What I would caution you, and at least what I've learned over a period of time, is to know what the constraints of data are, right? Where, to what extent and to what degree is this data able to tell you the story, and where does it sort of border on having those diminishing returns? Is that what we call it? Diminishing returns, right? Beyond a certain point. So what does that really mean? So the things that I would encourage people to look at is, know what is being measured, right? And understand it really, right? Apply your mind to understand what is being measured. There are plenty of caveats on the same measurement in different contexts and different scenarios. Okay. So take the time, take the effort to understand the constraints of that data, what is being measured, and what are the caveats, and what are the asterisks to a lot of that data which is being shown to you. Because you may make judgment calls just looking at something on the surface without knowing what the underlying caveats were. So that's one. The other thing that I would say is, at certain point, right, we talked about data overload, read it, you come to a certain point, you need to know when to allow your intuition and gut to take over. All right, because you can't forever live in the sheet and Excel sheet or whatever it is and not move the needle, right? So you got to be able to realize, when is it that I will rely on my experience and my past? And if you don't have experience and if you're newer and all that, everybody has a sense of gut, right? So tap into that at some point. That doesn't mean you dive into the deep end of the pool at get-go, right? So take those, try, test, learn, and then repeat, okay? That's one of the beauties of the world that we're living in today. We're not forced to go into the deep end in one shot. Okay, you can take small steps, baby steps, test whether it's working. Okay, if it is, then start scaling. And you can scale quickly, or you can scale down also quickly, of course, but you can scale quickly. And so that's what I would really encourage across how you use that data, how you rely internally for some of those signals that your mind is telling you, and then figuring out how you sort of get yourself into a circle where you put out something, learn from it, and then sort of improvise as you're going forth. And quite honestly, regardless of whatever scenario you're in, that's the world we're operating in today, right? It's it's so much of a world where we need to be in a position to constantly improvise, constantly innovate. Okay, and I think a lot of these ingredients that we have available for us today just naturally put us in that position. Yeah, so that's what I'd say. Naveen.
So you talked about intuition and data and Excel. So how does one measure their growth and progress as a business marketer? Are there any specific milestones or matrices that they should strive for?
Yeah, listen, if you start getting your mix right, and what do I mean by the mix? You know the kind of data and the business that you are in. You started putting those cross-functional conversations. You started moving the needle basis certain projects, certain efforts, certain tactics, and you started seeing some returns. That's probably your first milestone-ish of sorts. Okay. Obviously, under the hoods and as a foundation is all the things that you're expected to do as a marketer, any which ways. I'm not touching upon any of that. I'm sort of talking a little bit beyond that. That becomes your first milestone. I think beyond that, your next milestone is if you've got an increasing sphere of influence. Okay, because you've been making the right judgment calls. Okay, and therefore your sphere of influence in the business automatically expands. Now, sphere of influence could be markets, it could be BUs, it could be different functions within marketing, etc., where you're seen more as an expert in that particular space. So that's one. The second thing which I would say is obviously as you've done this for a period of time, you're in a position to mentor newer team members, right? Now, when I say mentor, I mean you're more like coach, right? That's what I would say, right? Because you need to be one of those forces to instill that kind of behavior and culture in the team. Okay. And personally, I believe when you mentor and coach and you teach, whatever you might want to call it, if you're doing it right, you actually end up learning a lot more than what you're provided, to be honest. Okay. So that should be a second area that you're sort of looking at. And maybe because you're looking at it cross-functionally over a period of time, you're probably going to go more general management in due course, right? Because you touch different functions. Right? So that's probably what your next envelopes would be as you cover ground as a business marketer.
Oh, yes, you have mentioned, mentoring and training. I'm sure continuous learning and staying updated with the industry trends are crucial for professional development. So, what are some recommended strategies and sources of information to keep up with evolving marketing landscape?
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me, this is not just a marketing related question. Okay, this is because I've spent pretty much all my working career in the tech industry. I would say beyond marketing as a function, the most important thing in my mind, especially like you said, there's a lot of uh, audience who's sort of in their early years of their marketing and other career, engage and spend a lot of time reading. Okay, because there's so much happening in the world around us, not just in marketing, it could be in other functions as well as what's happening in the industry around product. Okay. What you are marketing today in the scenario that you're looking at today may have either become obsolete or may have a different connotation or may have a different competition or may have a different alternative. So many different possibilities in the world around us today. And overlaid with things like markets, geographies, and so on and so forth, it makes the world very. I would highly, highly encourage all of your audience who's listening, spend a period of time and almost make it a habit, if you will, to invest your time in reading, okay, and learning about what's happening. What amount of time really depends. It could be anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, depends how your schedules are for the day. But it's important you do that. When you read, you have a lot of exposure to newer areas, right? In the industry that you're operating in. I did say I'm in the tech industry, but I do think the same holds for pretty much any industry around you today. Everyone is going through a phase of massive transformation, and what was relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. So you owe it to yourself to make sure you are up to date to the extent you can, and you spend that time reading. A byproduct of reading is, I think, fundamentally believe all of us have enormous capability to think and expand the horizon. And when you get that exposure, I think it will trigger an idea or two in your mind to either improve and optimize what you're already doing or go and try something new. Which then gets me to the other piece, which is if you're fortunate enough to be in environments where you can test, learn, experiment, scale, and so on, right? Make full use of that, right? Because it gives you the opportunity to be able to try out new things, learn from it, and more importantly, when you're successful, which you will be very, very quickly, start scaling it, right? And then it gives you both as an individual for your team and as well as for your organization, fantastic and exponential and strong outcomes. So that's what I would genuinely say, Naveen.
Yes, rightly said, reading never goes out of fashion. In fact, I could see libraries are getting opened these days, surrounding areas. I could see people are spending time in libraries other than, not spending their time on mobile phones.
Yeah.
People who are studying IAS exams or, some other civil service exams,
Yeah.
they are refraining themselves from mobile and electronic media. They are going to libraries and, reading is a passion and reading is must. Thank you, Srihari, for this wonderful conversation. Thank you, everyone. Please catch me live in the next episode of Marketing Monday by CXO TV, while we would be discussing relevant and interesting topics like this. See you there.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.